So you probably are wondering how you could set up your accounting system to meet these DCAA requirements. And also, how will your financial report, and probably more specifically profit and loss report, will look like once you have an accounting system to be DCAA compliant. We have a very simple comparison for profit and loss here. This is a simplified set of profit and loss report. So basically, on the left-hand side, it could be a traditional profit and loss report used by many small for-profit organization or business. It will start from the company's gross revenue and subtract different types of expenses like salaries or business rent or travel expense, professional fees, and then the bottom line is net operating income. But once you have an accounting system, well, in this case, it's more like for a QuickBooks online report purposes. Once you have that system ready, the report will look a little different. And right here, we are showing a sample report called Profit and Loss by Class report. QuickBooks will be easily generate such report once you have the system or DCAA compliant system set up. And there are two things that the government contractor needs to set up. First of all is a DCAA compliance set of chart of account. We're going to go through more details of the DCAA compliant chart of account in our next session. But just as a brief overview, basically it will start from the revenue on the profit and loss, and then the next section is direct expenses, which in our example here, it's just direct labor. And then following that, there is an indirect expense section. In reality, the indirect expense section could include a lot of different expense account names under a few different indirect expense pools, which could include a fringe expense pool, an overhead expense pool, as well as a G&A expense pool. And after all the indirect expenses, the bottom line is net operating income for the company. So you can see that by implementing the chart of account, you will be able to separate direct and indirect cost in your accounting system. And the other part that is good to be set up in QuickBooks is called a class system. By enabling the class function, basically you could trace your cost by your final objective. The final objective could be your different contracts, your projects, or it could go as detailed as even a purchase order. So however detailed you want to track, say the revenue or the expenses by those projects or objectives, you can set them up as classes. And this is how you will be able to identify direct costs by contract, is by when you adding those costs to the accounting system, assign them to a particular contract. And one more column we have here is an indirect column or indirect class. So for now, indirect expenses are temporarily stored under this indirect class, which we can talk about how it will need to be allocated to the project shortly. But this profit and loss by class report will be able to show you how your financials look like with a segregation of direct, indirect cost, as well as identification of direct cost by contract. Well, assigning those costs, in most cases, is more like straightforward. Let's say if this is a direct expense, it will go to the direct expense category. If it's an indirect expense, such as office rent or business insurance that benefited the whole operation of the company, it will go to the indirect expense category. What could get complicated is about labor distribution.